anyway, I had to go to county lockup 30 days, and I got out, and my friends, like any good military friend should do, said, you want to like pay rent or get food? No, let's throw a party and invite whores and have a gangbang.
Hey, welcome back for the road, everybody. I'm Andar Punk Rock. We got Andar with us today, and our special guest, Josh from Mercenary Motorcycle Company and Ranger Penny Connoisseur. How you doing today, Josh?
What's up, guys?
Glad to be on that's not you,
guys.
That looks an awful lot like you.
And
so for everybody that can't see, Andar is going into the archives. Which book was that out of, Andar?
My two favorite things. Couch.
Fucking Dick Couch. Yeah.
So actually, we were talking last time about my trip. After the funeral and stuff like that, getting a chance to rip south. And some of the guys that I got to hook up with while I was going south is Josh and his homies. We're not going to say anything about the fact that he excluded them from this podcast and was like, you know what, bitches, this is just my shit right here. But getting a chance to rip up, so I went down to Columbus, Georgia. I went through infantry school down there, and it's just nice to get back. They got some memorial plaques and stuff like that where the infantry graduations take place. And then I was able to hook up and rip around with these guys, which was a fucking bro. Ken, I know you can fucking ride, but these dudes can fucking ride.
Yeah, dude, that's actually like the only thing that he fucking talked about besides you guys being just absolutely the best hosts. Which put me at least in number 3 because I thought I was the best host. I never met the motherfucker. I said, hey, bro, it's okay. Come on down. Fucking have a good time. But apparently you guys are way better than I am. So that's rad.
Yeah, I stay humble about that. I mean, so I guess I do rip pretty quick or whatever you may say, but I'm the idiot that dumps a bike at the stoplight almost every time. Just going super slow. I don't know if I should say that on the air, man, but man, I know my homies are gonna be like, no, this motherfucker, he goes out there and he, dumps the fucking bike at the stoplight.
Well, yeah, dude, you have to have there has to be some balance. Like, you can't be pretty and a ranger and the best fucking rider out of your friend group, all the time. You gotta have those dumb moments where you forget to put your kickstand down and your bike just rests on a fucking crash bar, Yeah.
To jump ahead here, but one of the stories that I tell in that podcast was we went through this the very first day I went to Weston, Georgia, and outside of Weston, Georgia is a state park, and I forget what the name of it is, but it's a really cool state park, and there was other cars in this park that were I don't know, hiking, sightseeing, camping, whatever they were doing. Maybe they're getting on the I think they were listening to Alan Jackson and getting on the Chattahoochee. But it's a cool park to explore. And we're ripping through it. And I was telling these guys that some of the turns in the park were probably 45 miles an hour tops. And I came through them, and I was coming into these turns 80, 85 maybe. I mean, I'm not ripping, but I'm doing pretty good. And I was telling Ken, it was I put my kickstand down. I might as well just got off my bike. Because Josh, I think he lapped me. I think he actually went through the park, came back around, and then lapped me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a favor of the Dynas, and it's a nice little platform to rip around, and that 110 sure does help getting around those corners.
Yeah. Man, do you wear Dickie shorts and tall socks?
I do wear tall socks, but definitely no Dickie shorts.
This has been a great podcast, folks. We're going to go ahead and cut it there.
Before we actually keep going any further, I'd like to say that California burritos are not real burritos.
Oh.
I do listen to y'all's podcast, and I don't know, man. I can't see myself throwing fries in a burrito. As good as that may be, you cannot call it.
Hold on. Where are you from?
So I grew up in Dallas, Texas.
Shut the fuck up. You guys got Tex-Mex. That shit ain't real food. Fuck off.
Hey, bro, come on down, dude. We'll show you the flavor of old Texas, man.
What? So I can put fucking yellow rice in a burrito?
Hey.
You guys use ground beef. Mixed meat, bro.
Yeah. So I actually listened to y'all's podcast, man. I think since I found out about y'all's page, you're on Instagram. I know you guys have quite a bit of following on Facebook, but man, I think I've listened to probably about 27 y'all's podcasts.
We've always said that fucking Instagram is harder because I like what you're doing because it's shit that you can put out. You have photography skills. You guys are out there ripping it up. You're putting on bike nights. You're putting out merchandise. You're working and wrenching on bikes. You had that one dirt bike you're putting together in your garage. That's cool shit that people want to see on Instagram. And I think there's a following for that. And you look at the different platforms. I know you and I talked about like Fast Life or Steve Chamberlain or some of these other groups that have this 2 Lane Life or whatever that have these followings, and they're doing stuff like that. For us, because our scope or whatever you have is more narrow with like club stuff, it's harder for us to share the stuff that's going to get likes on Instagram. Like I can't take a picture of a dude's patch and be like, "What's up, bro?" Instagram.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that, especially listening to like the way like different obviously MCs run themselves differently, but keeping that privacy aspect of privacy and because obviously there is a lot of profiling, and you guys do definitely talk about like, hey, the local cops stay creeping on us and doing this and the third, give them less reason to think that you're up to something stupid or whatever the case may be, and try and put action against that particular organization or MC. So definitely understand for you guys why it's harder.
So let's go to the beginning. What got you into motorcycles? Were you ripping around as a kid? Were you dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, parents that were into it?
So for me, it's always rode around on like little BMX bikes and stuff like that. I was a shithead in school, so like my parents didn't give me a whole lot of privileges. But like my buddies that did have dirt bikes, I would get on those and rip around with them and stuff like that. So I guess that was my firsthand experience on anything motorized that went fast, and that was pretty cool. And then as an adult, I ended up getting on a Sportster, like everyone else, I guess, that doesn't know much about bikes, because I really didn't know anything about it. Ripped around on that, and I still have it to this day. And then got myself a Dyna, because my buddy was like, "Yo, you should check this bike out. What do you think about this?" And I was like, "This is kind of cool. It's a lot bigger." Because obviously I'm a bigger dude. So he's like, maybe you might want to upgrade. And I was like, all right, yep. And so got myself my first Dyna, and but I've been ripping around. I think I started riding in 2000 Harleys in 2014. And then from there, I've just been doing it up since, and it's worked out for me. I like it. And then,
now the bike that blew up in your garage, is that your first Dyna too that you had, or is that a different bike?
So that Street Bob was my first Dyna. Doesn't have anything crazy done on it, just your regular air cleaner, pipe, fucking tune, whatever the case may be. But
you still have your first Sportster and your first Dyna. You still have both of those bikes.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Like I don't think most people still have. My first bike was like a Suzuki Katana, and I don't know. Maybe it might be a paperweight now. I don't know.
Your first bike was a Katana?
Yeah.
Bro, same.
Yeah.
I bought it right outside of Post in Norfolk, Virginia, at like 700% interest or whatever it was.
I bought mine from some fucking crackhead for like $700, and it was all rattle can black. And it every time you put it into first gear, dude, it would die. So you had to put it into second, and like fuck the clutch until you actually got moving.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of those guys that just kind of has a hard time letting go of vehicles. Like I just recently gave away my first car that I bought myself when I first joined the Army back in 2009, and I gave it to my aunt to drive, to give it to my cousin so he could drive it around and stuff like that. So basically he sold it for really cheap because I knew she would be using it for him. So I was like, I don't care. It's just costing me money at this point. So
now, and hanging out with you guys for the weekend, something I picked up on, and just in talking to you, you love to wrench and you're good at it. Like, your way around a Harley motor. Like, where did that just self-taught? Like, did you have somebody that was teaching you?
I mean, I'd use those words carefully. I think so I mean, I think I've always been naturally inclined to work on stuff. I've always been that dude that just wants to take shit apart and put it back together. So, I guess it just came naturally. I've always done most of maintenance on the cars, on my own vehicles. And then from there, it just felt like a natural progression to just kind of, work on bikes. And honestly, they're really pretty easy. Get yourself a nice Dyna manual and pretty much can, walk you step by step. And I got plenty of friends around, like John Maxwell that helps me out, the Harley Tech dude, and he's always, I was like, hey man, how do you go about doing this? Because he has that knowledge about how not to fuck shit up. Like, hey, you may not want to do that before you do this, or you may want to think about that type of thing. But yeah, I try and learn and do the best that I can. And obviously, sometimes you're gonna fuck shit up, and is what it is. Some of my friends say I from time to time gorilla fuck a motorcycle, but but yeah, man, I try and do most of the work myself. But sometimes with the busy schedule, I can't always get to things. So I'll be like, hey, John, I need you to try and figure this out for me if I can't do it, or if I just don't have the time.
And I think a lot of that stuff I think relates to like military and club stuff, like finding that mentorship. And I don't know if John has that relationship to you or whatever, but finding somebody that's like where you want to be and learning from them. I think that's something that we stress in the service, and I think it's something that has a place in club life and stuff as well. I know Ken talks about in his role, at his, do we call them sailors?
Seamen?
Being able to provide.
I can't fucking say that. I just found out like a couple of them listen to the show. I gotta quit calling them assholes now.
And I don't know if they still do it, but I remember a few years, like right before I got out, for a few years, like NCOERs and stuff had like what type of mentorship you were providing to junior guys. And so I think that's something that you see in all walks of life that benefits people, is that mentorship.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta like humble yourself down and just listen to the guys that know more than you. Like I'm pretty stubborn sometimes, but like if I know for a fact a guy knows what he's talking about, I'll just shut up and listen. But definitely ask a lot of questions, and but I guess working on things just kind of come a little bit natural. But like I have plenty of friends that I hit up. Manny, he's got that dope ass FXDX. If you ever seen it, he's on my page. Definitely give him a call all the time, or we'll talk about things and how he would do something, because I think may have been a certified tech at some point, or just worked on bikes. And John, the Harley Tech, he's definitely a guy that I go to a lot, and various other dudes on the internet. Definitely some dudes from Tennessee that know what their way around a bike pretty good, because they got way more experience than me. And
I know we talked a little bit about it. I don't remember if we were recording it or not, but obviously you're in the service still. As far as like being a service member, being in the military, being around military dudes, does it make it easier to find dudes that are into riding, to get into, either club stuff or just dudes that want to build bikes and stuff like that?
I think so. I think that the service definitely brings a melting pot of people together. And I think it makes it easier to connect, like one of my buddies, he's seen someone here on post that just, I guess, had moved here. And he's like, he's got a clubbed out bike, basically, as you would say, or a performance style bike. And he was like, I feel like we should know each other. Well, come on out, man. He's like, and that's how it was. And then, dudes get into thrown up in the group and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a natural progression. Dudes want to just hang out and ride together and stuff. And it's cool to build that community, especially down here where there's not a whole lot of that. It's a lot of your big little bagger bros and stuff like that. And obviously we're not into that.
No, not a big wheel bagger would have a hard time.
Feel the same way I do. Not that there's anything wrong with having your personal preference in bike, but that's just not my preference.
No, like it's okay to be gay. It's 100% okay to be gay, but it is not okay to be a big wheel bag fag.
I think riding a big wheel bagger, if that's your thing, is fine. But it would be a hell of a time trying to keep up with Josh and his dudes, trying to corner that fucking thing.
End up sideways in the ditch or something,
So what got you into the Army? Like, what made you choose the Army or stuff like that?
He likes penis.
Yeah, that too. And to be completely honest, I was never a fan of school, man. I think I dropped out in the 11th grade, and I took my test for GED like maybe a month or two later or something like that. And I just knew school wasn't for me. I knew I wasn't going to go to college, and I was getting in a lot of trouble. And, kind of back then it was like, go to jail or join the Army. So my recruiter, whether he was supposed to or not at the time, showed up to court and was like, hey, I'm taking care of this kid. Like, what can we do to, make it so he's not so in the system? So we can take him off your hands.
Did you get to pick your job, or were you like just go to the recruiter and like fuck, give me whatever?
I think most of any guy that went, infantry, they were like, hey, I'd like to, blow shit up. My recruiter himself was an infantryman, and he's like, come on in, man, because the Marines wanted nothing to do with me once they found out I had some sort of record and I had a GED and stuff like that. So the Army gave me that opportunity, and I definitely took it. And I think as soon as I turned 18, I think within 3 months I was in the Army.
That has worked out so far. I mean, you are, looking to make a career out of it, looking to get to that retirement level, and you're executing it at high levels of the service. So, I mean, congratulations on all of that, obviously.
Dude, on top of that, like, he's a business owner on top of all of that too, like that's fucking bad.
It's it's not just me, man. I'd like to definitely give a shout out to, Kevin. He helped me start it up along with Cameron and Miller and AJ. Those are the guys that, have helped me out throughout this time. And honestly, it kind of sucks because we started a company, or actually producing products and starting to get momentum during COVID. So it was kind of iffy, and we were like, man, we don't know if this is going to work out, but we kept on it, and we made a lot of changes. I definitely learned a lot of lessons as far as, what it takes to actually have a company, and it's not just, hey, let's put some t-shirts together and let's do it. I mean, there's definitely, if you want to make any sort of type of money in it, there's a process of doing things the right way and stuff like that. And there was definitely some hard lessons learned, and maybe a little bit of money lost here and there at the beginning, but I've picked it up over time and how to manage things a lot better.
So what kind of brought and for those that don't know, Mercenary Motorcycle Company is the name of your business, and number one, like, how did that come to be, and number two, what made you decide to get into it with your friends and stuff like that? Because there's five or six of you that kind of do it.
So as it stands right now, there's only really like 4 of us.
I'll just go fuck. I'm sorry.
Well, just
he's trying to fucking work himself into that. That's it.
Well, one of the guys that helped start it up, Kevin, really grateful because I learned a lot about him, especially the scene of like, I guess you could say, performance or club style bikes and stuff like that. He he went up to be a platoon sergeant up in another unit, and so he's very busy. And if anyone that knows anything about the Army, being a platoon sergeant is extremely busy. You're in charge of all these dickheads, a lot of things going on. So I didn't really have a huge expectation of him to be able to give that time back, but he does what he can when he can. Definitely helps promote us, even to this day. So I mean, very thankful for that.
And for those that aren't in the Army, what rank or job do you need to drop the G from sergeant and just roll with that hard R? Like what is that? Is that a rank thing? Is that an MOS thing?
It's not sergeant, sergeant.
I don't know, man. It depends.
That's a Black Hawk. That's some Black Hawk down shit. What do you want me to do, sergeant?
It could definitely go a couple ways to just a guy from the South or whatever, or a sergeant fuck you type of way. Raw sergeant,
This is my safety.
Yeah.
So what got you like thinking about making Mercenary Motorcycle Company? What brought that up?
So I mean, a lot of events that kind of led up to that point, I believe. And then one day we were just kind of like, we have a pretty good eye for what people like to see. I've always been into photography, kind of low key. I've always taken a camera with me anywhere I went, whether it was deployments or, just documenting stuff. And it just kind of felt natural. So I bought a used camera that wasn't really all that great, but it did pretty good for me for a very long time until I decided to kind of do an upgrade. And yeah, man, like, I just enjoy photography and editing and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a natural progression. I didn't want to be one of those guys that was, outsourcing that type of stuff. I'm like, we can do it ourselves, and for us, it was very easy because we ride a lot and we try and capture everything that we do, so it's pretty easy, I guess, for us at this point to maintain content on the page and stuff and just really showcase what we're doing from time to time.
So, and something I've always like asked Ken about too, and get both of you guys to chime in on this one. As vets, or I guess you're not even vets, right? You're currently serving, or whatever the difference is. How hard is it to like balance between like making some grunt style bullshit and making like actual relevant shit that people
Oh man.
like. I mean, is there a thing where like you don't want to be, you want to maybe be some veteran but not super moto?
I mean, yeah. I mean, hats off to the grunt style guys, but definitely not something that we want to. For us, we didn't want to be very bro-vet-ish. So we wanted to ensure that we kind of kept away from that because we didn't want to just pander towards veterans. There's more than just vets out there that like to ride, that like to do what we do and stuff like that. So it was very. I think it was very easy for us to just stray away from that. Um, I think it was just like, hey, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be super moto. Let's put some stuff out there that might be a little bit edgy and yeah, stuff that guys like to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I fucking hate the military and everybody in it, so it's pretty easy for me to fucking.
It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy.
Like the bro vets. Yeah, it's fucking serious. but
yeah.
But the bro vets fucking killed it for me. I don't want. Like, I want a certain type of person to wear my merchandise, and a bro vet is not even near the fucking list. So I try to, if there's nothing military related, he's not going to be interested in it, right? Like, it's not a pair of fucking 511 tactical dad pants and fucking Oakley gas cans, right? So I'm safe.
Yeah. We definitely, yeah. I mean, and so like most of the time when like right now is we're working actually on our summer line, and we always sit around and we definitely come together as a melting pot of putting ideas together and being like, hey, that's a little too little moto there. We got to pipe it down on that, basically fuck no. and so, and with just trial and error, and we definitely take, we ask people, some of our followers that, we really keep in touch with, be like, hey man, what do you think about this? And we'll reach out and I'll send them preliminary stuff that we have done through our graphic designer and see what do you think about it. And they'll be like, hey, well, I think this, I think that, and we get it done.
What are some of the challenges kind of keeping the group together, the business together, if y'all kind of go to different duty stations and stuff like that?
I think ultimately, we all have the same plan as far as where we're trying to end up. Because at the end of the day, we want to make this into a kind of a shop, build bikes and stuff like that. So I think that this is something that we're just, trying to get ourselves out there, get our name out there. That way people know who we are and we're not just some guys that just pop up, one day randomly, like, hey, come check us out. And people have no idea who we are, what we've been. And I think that this is a good way of doing that ultimately when I decide to get out the military, and we all decide to get out the military. But as far as keeping track of, each other and accountability and making sure that, we're all on the same page, I think we all have an understanding that, we're going to continue to take pictures and just send them in to me, and I'll continue to post and stuff like that. And wherever we go, I think it's a plus, because that means that if one guy goes to the West Coast or one guy goes further up to the East Coast or whatever the case may be, he can bring more dudes in to bring into that community. And I think for us, I think that's actually a plus.
So, and you guys just started hosting your own bike nights too, right? Down near, so I don't know if we covered this already, but you're in Columbus, Georgia, near Fort Benning, and so now y'all are doing your bike nights. What do those consist of, and where are they at?
So down here we have a place. It's like called Banks Food Hall. It's pretty family friendly. We don't want to exclude, the families and stuff like that. If they want to bring their kids on the side, there's like a park, there's beer, there's food that we can get at this place. So I mean that, we just wanted to make sure that everyone can facilitate that, as far as taking the time out, and, wives and stuff like that aren't like, well, you're always just riding with your friends. Well, come out and meet my friends, and come hang out. And then, from time to time, we do long rides and stuff like that, which we have coming up here soon. We'll be going up to North Carolina, Tennessee and stuff like that. And we'll rip out there and meet some guys and stuff like that. No.
So like for these bike nights and stuff like that, are you selling merch too, or is it just kind of a get together? Or?
Yeah, so we'll bring like a box of shirts and stuff like that, and if guys want to come out and purchase stuff, we'll bring a set of T-shirts out there and some stickers, and we'll hustle out of the back of a car, whatever.
I feel like, and I know you guys, we'll get into in a minute, you guys were down in Daytona too. Ken had like 5 beers and got drunk, couldn't make it all the way to Daytona, but We'll cover that later. But I think
in Daytona, motherfucker. That's where I dropped my road glide.
I think dudes like that though. I think dudes like to see guys that ride, guys that are living the life, and then guys that are just willing to hustle. Like and I'm not talking shit, but anybody can buy a T-shirt online from from a major supplier, from Dixon Flannel or whatever. Anybody can buy his shirt online and stuff like that. But I think to like see the dude like hustling out of the back of his bike or the back of his car, setting up his own thing. I think people, they like that, and they want to be connected to that, and they want to help that grow, and I think they respect that. So I love what you guys are doing in that sense. And you guys just had a setup at Daytona, right? How was Daytona?
Daytona was awesome, man. It was for us. Besides just being at the Hardcore Cycle Show, which is where we set up, and at Beast Coast. Beast Coast did a pretty good job of putting on a little event for everybody, and everyone came there the day prior to the Hardcore Cycles event, and it was cool. But for the crew, man, it was a shit show. I mean, I think one of those days we didn't get to sleep for almost 2 days. Dudes ended up in the hospital, fights, just your typical fucking bullshit, and just, stuff that makes memories and brings dudes together. I think that's what it's all about. And yeah, I think for us, it was very important that, we're an attainable thing. Like dudes of any scope can come out and hang out and ride and just bullshit and shoot the shit. And I think that's what's really most important to us, is just bringing dudes together. Obviously shirts is cool. Selling shirts and merchandise is cool, but getting to meet people from anywhere is that's really what it's all about.
And listen, I think there's a market for companies that are actually selling stuff that pertains to what they're doing. I think people like that authenticity of it, and something that we talked about on a previous podcast. I don't know if it was the last one or one of the other ones, but was talking about big rallies like Daytona and stuff like that, where rallies like Daytona, Sturgis, Laconia, whatever. They kind of get that rap of the bedazzled jeans, the $8 beers, the big wheel baggers, the Hell Yeah brothers with the tassels and the fingerless gloves. But like I was telling these guys, like something that I noticed, like at Daytona, there's pockets of like people like yourselves, Hardcore Cycles, Beast Coast, Outcast Culture. Chamberlain was down there, Jace goes to Sturgis and stuff like that. There's pockets of people kind of, I don't know if taking the rally back is the right term, but dudes doing stuff that you would be into that aren't necessarily hanging out with the affliction guy. And I like that. Like, I think like, you can knock the big rallies because of the dude in the bedazzled jeans, but if you know what to look for, there's dudes that are just going down there, ripping it up and having their own good time.
Yep. I think you're 100% correct about that. There's a niche for everybody there. But I think people definitely want to see that authenticity of people that are like here coming out and just being, in my opinion, I felt like I was nobody at that show. You have big name companies there, and it's like humbling to be around these guys. And a lot of those guys are really cool, man. Like you mentioned, Outcast Culture guys, they're fucking awesome. We talk very regularly on Instagram, and we keep in touch like that. Those guys are awesome, man.
So I want to point out too, if you go through our text messages, I did try to get Ken to go down there. He got drunk and couldn't make it all the way to you guys. You guys were at Bruce Rossmeyer's, right? Destination Daytona.
Yep.
He got close. He got close. He couldn't quite make it all the way there.
Yeah, man. That's accurate.
How many times did I text you and tell you to get down there?
Oh, I was fucking drunk, dude. I don't know.
Could have came down and got drunk with us, man. Like we had a hotel room. I think we put like probably 8 dudes in one hotel room.
Oh, dude, I went to well, I didn't allegedly, right? Because that's yeah. Anyways, allegedly, what happened was I went down to the Hard Rock and I dropped my bike in the parking lot there, and I fucking left it. And then I got drunk with Mac, and then I remembered that I dropped my bike, and I got mad at it and just left it there. I did. I left that bitch on the side for like 2 hours.
Yeah, man. I ended up actually showing up to to Daytona with myself, no bikes. So I had one buddy that came down from California that we met, here in Georgia, but he moved back to Cali, and I had a bike that I was going to bring for him. Stupidly enough, I decided to do a handlebar job like 3 days prior to Daytona, and that did not pan out at all. I didn't realize how much of a pain in the ass that throttle grip sensor would be on the newer, lowrider, or not the newer, but the old Dyna Lowrider S. It's not cable driven. And so that electrical issue just turned into an absolute pain in the ass, and I couldn't get it fixed, man. Literally an 89-cent part kept me from riding for like 2 weeks. That I talked to, John, the Harley tech, and he was like, dude, every time I do one of these jobs, I order extra, female lens. That way, when I depin it, I already know that one's going to get messed up, and I already have one on standby.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the knowledge. That's the knowledge that I just don't have. Like I would have never have known that. I feel like, hey, you take it apart, you put it back together, and it's fucking fine and dandy. And that was definitely not the case.
Well,
so
maybe when we get a chance here, Ken can go out in his garage and show and walk us through a picture of where he cut the cuts that he made for his risers. Do you want to show?
I did my own fucking bar job, you fucking pansy.
Yeah.
At least mine's just not hacked up like I don't even know, like a chainsaw took to it.
Like I said, I revert back to bare fucking a bike. Yep.
And then he tried to blame it on his wife. He's like, no, my wife helped with that part. Just drove that bus over.
She did.
Say, I'm gonna drive this bus.
Yeah, all for just having cool parts on your fucking bike.
So do you guys have any other plans like Sturgis, Laconia, anything like that?
We're trying to get together, depending on the timeline. Obviously, we all have work and stuff like that, and the Army definitely owns our time for the most part. So whenever we can try and get to something, we try. I think we're talking about trying to go to Laconia and rip up there, and we don't know if we'll set up a stand or just to go, but we just want to go places. Sturgis would be awesome. Dudes are talking about it right now, and we'll get that in the works and just try and go up there. For us, I think it's like a 24+ hour ride at least. We're all the way down here in southeast Georgia, so it'll definitely be an adventure. I mean, something always goes fucking wrong,
Well, and Laconia wouldn't be close for you either. Hey, I mean, you're it's Daytona or nothing for y'all.
Yeah, pretty much. So
as far as the big rallies go.
Yeah, we definitely stressed trying to go to Daytona. Had an awesome opportunity, and we took it. And the hardcore cycle guys were pretty cool about letting us come in. I talked to one of the guys, and he's like, "Yeah, man, just more than happy to have you." And I was pretty humbled that they were just gonna let some small town nobody come in and showcase their shit. And I was pretty happy about that. And the crew had a pretty good time.
And you got to you said you had to set up like a stand and stuff like that, like right there at Destination Daytona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were in the middle of that pavilion that they have there, along with Outcast and I think White Trash Alley was there. A lot of other guys, Lexon was there. A lot of big names, that you're like, fuck, man. Like these are guys that we see their bikes all the time and we look up to.
Yeah.
I guess the standard bearers for fucking building motorcycles. Like it's,
sure.
it's
and I think, and like I said, I mean, not to beat the dead horse, but I think people forget that within these large rallies, legit dudes are trying to take it back. Whether that's club stuff, whether that's I think Boosted Brad, didn't he have a bike that won? He won something, didn't he, while he was down there with hardcore cycle or something? So
yeah, definitely saw some Boosted Brad stuff, and I think maybe not at that show that day in particular, but he definitely ended up bringing bikes and winning stuff out. Yeah, he's.
If you want to hang out with the big wheel bagger crowd, it's there. If you want to get down with the dudes that are going to get drunk and rip reels or whatever you're into, that shit is there. That shit is there too.
There was definitely something for everybody there. I was really surprised, just for me, it was cool just to see all these, like Trask was there, SNS, the people that you're like, fuck, man, this stuff is, really cool. And, you look up to, talked to the SNS dudes for a little bit and, they were pretty chill. And I was like, man, fuck yeah, definitely going to continue to support them, because they definitely produce good products, in my opinion, it was just cool to see all that.
Yeah. So, Ken, can we expect a tent next year at Destination Daytona?
Probably. I will probably get drunk again and make it to the Hard Rock and then try to fight the people that are there again.
Yeah. There's
maybe wait till you get down there and then get drunk. Maybe like get there first, then get drunk.
I got there, and then Matt got drunk, and then we tried to fight people, and then I got mad, and I got drunker. Allegedly, and then
you can't fight people in Florida; they'll eat your face and shit. It's Florida, man.
No, that's Miami. It's fine. We're good.
So we got. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you guys look on our Instagram page, there was a picture of me and one of my best friends that ended up being in the hospital, getting had a fat lip and stuff, like just shit like that. It's cool, good times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So now, was that at the Daytona Hospital, or was that before y'all left for Daytona?
That was down in Daytona. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. There was like a 3-part fight that night. I myself called it a night, not super early, but early enough that I guess I didn't feel like I was fucking trash, but I probably was. And yeah, I got a call. Like I got woken up at like I think 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they were like, "Yo, he's at the hospital right now. We gotta fucking go." And I was like, "Oh shit." So I got my ass out of bed, still in fucking Ranger panties and, my fucking bed sleep attire, and fucking rolled out to the hospital to go get him and stuff like that. But I mean,
And that is on your Instagram for everybody that checks out Mercenary Motorcycles Instagram, which of course we'll put the links and shit to. There is a picture of you in your panties at the hospital.
Yeah, Daytona certified, baby.
So like you said, with the guys that are kind of involved with this with you, and because we're I guess a club focused page, wearing everybody dressed in mercenary motorcycle gear. How many times does somebody come up like, how do I join your club? Are you guys a club? I want to be in your club. What the fuck's going on here?
I don't think we got so many questions because it was kind of an expectation that there was going to be companies there that own motorcycle clothing companies and stuff like that.
Outside of Daytona, just ripping around.
Outside Daytona, we for sure get asked questions about like what who we are, what we are, what we're doing, what our intentions are, and stuff like that. And we got to just break it down to them, like, hey man, we're just a clothing company. And I think down here we're so far removed from like the West Coast and stuff like that that they don't have that out here, and it's kind of odd for I guess you could say MCs down here to see us ripping around here wearing mercenary clothing, if if guys are wearing it and stuff, and kind of start to ask questions like, hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, man, it's definitely because I'm like we talked about, I'm from San Diego, and it's definitely a different scene out here. Like it's not. No, I don't want to say it like that. They take it a lot more seriously out here than they do on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
In certain aspects, like like you were saying, like it's like, oh, who the fuck is this? Like we got to go ask questions now, instead of like on the West Coast, we probably just keep an eye on you and see what's what's going on.
Yep.
Some investigating, but
yeah, and had a lot of very respectful conversations with a lot of various people, and once they figure it out, they're like, oh well, no issues, And we're like, hey, we're not trying to dive into that world, whether some guys with us might be trying to do that or not, like that's on them. They're individuals and stuff like that, as you guys know. But as a company, we're just going to be selling clothing and hopefully a shop in the future. We're not trying to dive into that just yet.
Yeah.
So with that, who's your favorite team? No. But, so I mean, what about like is club life? And we don't have to get into specifics, but is that something that appeals to you? That's a draw for you? That's something that's of interest to you?
I think for me, yeah, once the timing is right and stuff like that, which I don't think there probably is a right time for any of that, but I think in the future, for me, for sure, I'd definitely like to explore that world and kind of go into that. You guys definitely talk about it a lot, and the pros and cons and stuff like that. And for me, I see it more as a pro than a con, in my opinion. But depending on where you're at in the service, you have to keep that on the low because definitely could subject yourself to some type of UCMJ or whatever the case may be if they feel that it's an extremist organization. So
whenever you're ready, you just walk straight up to the president. Fuck everybody else. You walk straight up to the president and say, Andar told me that I got to talk to you about getting my patches. Here's my address. I expect them in the mail tomorrow.
I wish it worked easy like that. I mean, anything worth doing is obviously going to be difficult and hard to do. And I think, for a lot of guys that have gone down that road, from what I see, it's definitely been worth it for them. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to be a trying time for guys that are trying to get in that world, to make sure that you could cut it just like anything else. You want to be at the top or whatever the case may be, you have to work for it,
Well, when you do, if you do decide to go that route and join a club, and you become a patch member, we're gonna revisit this. We're gonna ask you what was harder, Ranger School or prospecting, and see what you got for us.
You know what? Just let us know who you decide, to go with, and then we're gonna call them and then tell them that you've been through Ranger School, that you said that prospecting probably ain't gonna be shit. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll see what it's like. I know from hearing your guys' podcast and definitely talking to other guys that prospecting and being around, trying to prove yourself to that organization or MC. I don't want to use the wrong verbiage. It's going to be hard, and you need to prove yourself that you're going to be worthy enough to hang around these guys and be what you guys like to say, be a brother on behalf of that club or whatever the case may be. So it definitely has to be something that you're willing to work for. And if I have to do push-ups, fuck it, I guess I'll do fucking push-ups.
I don't know what the what do they call them, tab bunnies or whatever. I don't know what they're like around Fort Benning, but if you bust that shit out in the motorcycle scene, dudes are gonna be all up on your jack, like telling you all kinds of war stories. Like they're gonna be like, you're like, hey, I'm just here to serve beer and prospecting, man. He's like, no, hold on, prospect. I'm gonna tell you about my service.
Hey, and honestly, some of my favorite times is talking to those really old, like Vietnam vets and stuff like that you can finally, like get to talking to, because you can learn so much, from those guys, because, they have all that experience, whether it was a different war or not. Like, leadership is still leadership at any level, regardless of the time frame. Treating people with respect and treating them right, that goes a very long way, and I definitely try and carry that even to the business, try and give dudes, help them out where I can, Yeah.
So you're at what, 12 years of service, you said?
Yes.
So how many more moves, like how many more duty station moves will there be for you?
Hopefully not too many more, man. I'd like to get back to Tennessee. I do like Georgia a lot. So between here and then Tennessee is really the toss up. Maybe North Carolina. I don't know yet, but I'm trying to stay in the South. I mean, I've pretty much, my entire career in the military, I've been down here in the South. So I like it down here. I like the weather. I like that I can ride year round. Like to me, riding is everything. Like if I go a week without riding because my bike's down or something, I start to go stir crazy. Like, what am I fucking doing with my hands?
Well, that's why you got 3 of them. That's why you got 3 bikes.
Yeah, I mean, we got one with a blown engine, and right now I'm working on putting that Sporty back together, just to rip around on it and definitely do the bro thing and put some T-bars and a saddleman on it. Standards.
You turn into a stump bike.
That's something, man. I don't know. I started out trying to, I'm not going to do it on my new bike because I love that thing. That to me is my golden bike. I won't ever fucking do anything too crazy. I've already low sided it trying to be stupid. And, I'm definitely not going to do any of that on that bike, but maybe when the Street Bob comes back around, it'll definitely, be something to fucking play around with. But as it stands now, the lowrider, stays as is.
So that one's the queen.
What about how does the so we'll talk a little bit about your personal life here without getting too personal. How does the missus, how does she handle the lowrider? She wish you had a bagger?
I guess so. Yeah. I guess on the long rides, in the past when we've done stuff, she's like, man, maybe you should get a bigger bike. She's definitely ripped out, with me for long miles, doing, 2 or 3 day trips at a time and just going all over, and, covering several, I'd say probably, a couple thousand miles on the Dyna, but she was a good sport about it then. So, yeah.
That's good.
She's, I think, knows that I'm not going to change my ways, and it is what it is at this point.
Hey, that's important for a business or for club life, is having an old lady that can at least accept it, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important for a lot of guys to have that family support and knowing when and where you can't, do things, and to draw that line of like spending time with family, and because there'll be dudes that like want to ride, but they're like, hey, the wife said, nah, man, not today. I just spent fucking 5 days with you assholes. I'm sure you guys,
and I'm sure too, like for you military guys, like yourself and Ken. I mean, you have those training schedules, you have those, duty schedules, you have deployments and stuff like that. I mean, and then to come be able to rip it up and balance families, like both of y'all. Ken's got kids. I know, you mentioned you have a daughter and stuff like that. Like being able to balance that takes work.
absolutely. It definitely can't take a toll. Like I said, it wasn't just, for the company. It wasn't just putting t-shirts together and doing all that. It's managing multiple aspects, resourcing, all of this, that, and the third, and then spending time with the family, the friends, and doing your job at the same time, because that's what ultimately pays the bills. For me, I love the Army. It's treated me very well. But to me, it's not going to be, once I get out the Army, that's it. Like, I'm cutting it out. Like, I did my time and that was it. To me, I don't want to be one of those guys that just falls back on my service and then like that's all I have in life. I want more than that. I want to have, a shop. I want to be my own boss. I want to, do my own things, live my life outside the military because, as it stands now, I at least plan on doing 20 years. So, I want to move on from that at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
I was gonna say it definitely has to be a part of your life. It can't become your entire life, And I think you're doing it the right way, dude. Like, you see so many dudes in the military that just lose who they are as a person, and then their entire identity is surrounded by their pay grade and then what they do for, their MOS or their specialty.
Yeah.
And, like just talking to you, like we've been bullshitting for a couple of days now because, Dave introduced us and shit to get you on the show and, just following your page, dude, like you definitely seem like you've maintained that. Like Josh is still there, right? It's not just Soren. It's you still got Josh, and I think that's super important. And I really like seeing that, especially in the fucking MC community and bike community in general. We have so many veterans and we have so many active duty folks here, anyways. That like, dude, we ain't got time for all that bullshit. Like, bro, I'm just trying to fucking go rip and have a good time. Like, I don't need to fucking worry about what you have to say about my fucking gloves,
Yep. Exactly.
And I think something that we've talked about on other podcasts before, and so Ken, when we all go to Fort Benning and get to rip around with these guys, well, I'm gonna be at outskirts. You guys can go ride. I'm gonna be at the bar. You guys can do whatever you want. But when you guys come back from ripping around and I'm half in the bag at outskirts, we're gonna have this conversation with the rest of Mercenary Motorcycle, because something that we've talked about before is I don't know if there's been a harder time to be a vet, and maybe that's just because my scope is like I'm only, all I know is what I know about vets, but with social media, with kind of the politicized nature of vets, with kind of the changes that the military is going through, you guys as senior leaders that you guys are now, you've highlighted some of the good and the bad. We will fucking eat our own. Like, and so I think as a vet, like, you're trying to find that balance between being a good vet, like Josh was saying, and having something else that drives you or that motivates you or that is kind of like your identity, rather than just the whole identity being the military, but also being proud of your service and like being a good vet or whatever that looks like.
Yep.
And I think it's harder nowadays because we're so hypercritical of each other. Like if you step outside of what I'm cool with, I might call you a grunt style vet or whatever. And I'm not saying that makes me right.
100% is good.
That's where we live right now. It's hard.
Yeah. And I think, I don't want to say that that's part of it, but like, dude, when I retire, like, nobody's gonna know I was in the fucking military. Like, unless you really know me, like, I'm not gonna fucking, fucking back in my day in the Navy, we fucking, fuck you, dude. Like, nobody wants to hear my stories, but but you're absolutely right, dude. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to a couple of infantrymen. One's been through fucking Ranger school, and I'm just some fucking dumb fuck that drinks for his country right now. Like, that's all I do.
But I think people do want to hear that story. I think what people don't want to hear is that guy that can't tell anything but that story. Like, we were sitting around bullshitting. Josh made me drink with him till like 3:30 in the morning, and and I'm telling the Korea story about dancing with the chick that had a dick.
That's one of my favorite. That's like top 3 from you that are my favorite.
And I think that's something that people, not necessarily just that story, but I think that's something people want to hear. but you can't let that your time in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever, be your entire identity.
No, you can't. And I mean, it kind of sucks right now because obviously, as you guys know, that there's drawdown in the war and stuff like that. So you just like the service has always been, it has a high turnaround rate of people coming in and out, and so there's kind of almost a slight counterculture towards like, I wouldn't say I'm an older guy, but like a lot of the guys that definitely did the war and stuff like that, and were part of that big GWAT push and stuff like that. That guys are like, well, that's all you did, like that. A lot of hard lessons were fucking learned during that fucking time, and people seem to forget that quite quickly just because they don't have that experience. And that, I think that counterculture comes from there, like, oh, well, you don't need experience, and not that that's the end all be all, but it's important to forget that a lot of hard lessons were learned during that wartime, that a lot of us, I feel like I carry that burden, and I want to let my soldiers know that, like, hey, this is why this is important, and kids aren't going to understand, the reason why, you have, why we do things, why do we, fill the sandbags this way, why do we do these things X, Y, and Z, and it's, attention to detail, being disciplined, things like that, that are minute, but add to bigger things. Well, if you can't pay attention here, are you really going to pay attention when we have to actually go on fucking patrol and do the right things and have everyone's back, and there's a lot that I could go into as far as that goes, but yeah, it's
I'm sure for both of you guys, for you especially, and Ken too, like being, again, coming back to senior guys, you're progressing in rank and you're getting up there, and finding that balance to lead new troops between, like you said, that experience of having Iraq and Afghanistan and the global war on terror, and then also understanding that we need to progress forward to keep current or cutting edge or whatever with new troops, and finding that balance. I don't think that somebody can dismiss what we learned in Iraq or Afghanistan and just say, well, this is going to be a new era of warfare, this is going to be new tactics and stuff like that, because you still want to, like you said, those lessons that we learned, were hard lessons. Some of them were paid in blood. Some of them were stupid lessons that we never should have had to learn, and hopefully we discard those. But I think you need a mixture of like all of that. Because I remember so I joined in 2004. And my first duty station, like in the Navy and stuff like that. So we were basically a taxi for Marines, and Marines would come back from fighting in Iraq, and it would be like, they would talk about some of the older Marines or stuff like that. This is the same shit that I learned from guys that had been in Vietnam, and you learned that, okay, well, that's just not going to work. We're going to have to change our tactics. We're going to have to change and so I think we're at the same kind of level now. Yeah. So I hope that people listen to what you and Ken, as senior leaders, are kind of putting out as your training guys and girls. I guess.
Don't listen to me. I'm that. I mean, I'm just that fucking asking. Man, fucking, I'm supposed to be to work at 9, and I showed up at 8:50. Like, I'll see what the fucking problem is. It's like, motherfucker, you just start work at 9. Okay, and don't show up at 9.
Yep. And those are things that even myself I tend to forget. There's definitely complacency there. As time goes on, like, oh, well, there's no war and stuff like that. And I think all leaders, regardless if they want to admit it or not, I think that they potentially feel the same way.
Dude, COVID too. On top of that.
Oh man, that's made the service, as you probably know, just a straight pain in the ass. But I hope that when we get back to, if we ever have to go into conflict again, that still old dudes around to kind of tell the young guys, like, hey, knock it off, like that's dumb. And I think that's a hard thing that the Army has a hard time accepting, is being progressive at the same time. And I'm not talking about like transgender fucking policies, but hey, how do we equip the troops better, and how do we focus on the fucking fight, not these social policy fucking issues and things like that. We need to get back to being the fucking fighting force and not worrying about
feelings,
dumb shit. Yeah.
And I feel like, and I mean, I wonder if this is gonna make us or me sound like those old Boomer Friday ones and like stuff like that. But yes. I feel like when we obviously Afghanistan was a little bit different because of 9/11, and I feel like for those that didn't experience 9/11, I mean, even I was only in high school in 9/11, but it really felt like the country was like unified, and I'm sure it wasn't, but after 9/11, social media was, I don't even think, was MySpace even a thing yet? Like there wasn't the connectivity. There wasn't the connectivity that there is today. There wasn't Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I bet if we had the social media that we have today, and I'm not trying to sound fucking old, but if we had the social media that we have today during 9/11, I don't think the country would have been as united as it seemed to us, because that was the projection, was that everybody was united after 9/11. And I don't think that the war in Afghanistan, because of that originally, was really that politicized. Like, I feel like it was like, you felt like anyway, people got behind it and supported that. And then Iraq came along, and Iraq was a little bit different. Like, it became kind of more of a politicized thing. But now, like what you guys are probably, seems like you guys are experiencing now as an outsider looking in, it seems like it's not only become hyper politicized, like over the top, it's also become like you said, like almost like we're trying social experiments at the expense of the military. And I'm not, I try to be a progressive person. Like, I'm not saying that some of these things aren't fine. I don't know that they need to be tested in the military to see their worth or their value.
You're 100% right there, dude. And a prime example is, I don't know how they do it in the Army, but in the Navy, when you hit boot camp, it's like day 2 or 3. You all line up in your fucking underwear, and you walk the gauntlet of immunizations, right? And if you weren't immunized, if you didn't get your fucking shots when you were a kid, you were getting like 14 fucking shots, you know? And it fuck your religious beliefs, fuck your personal beliefs. Oh, I don't want that in my butt. Fuck you, you're getting it, or you're going to get the fuck out. And, the second option was a lie. You're just going to get the shot. And now, I don't know how the Army's doing it, but I know in the Navy, the Rona shot's optional. And that fucking blew my mind. I was like, dude, like, there's a vaccine that they're not going to make me get. Like, wow, that's fucking astonishing.
And, like, whether, times are going to change. And, like, for a lot of guys, especially in the infantry, like the females in the, combat arms is a huge issue. But, like, coming from a person that has seen these, various, lots of females that have come through the schoolhouse, a lot of them are they're hard. They really are. And they can definitely carry their weight. But, you can't always, set something up, based on the exception of the rule, but, as far as I know, there's plenty of them doing really well out there, and they're getting it just like a fucking dude will, so, I mean, hats off to them. Whether people agree with it or not, that's on them. But like, I wouldn't say that, I think it did change a lot of things at the same time, but there are capable females out there of doing that, so I'm not one to just completely hate on the idea,
Will the military ever go to a standardized method of gauging fitness, standardized across the board, men, women, dogs, children, whatever, make that this is the standard?
I don't think so. No.
If they were to have a standardized fucking, like, for everybody, it would have been back in the 70s when they fucking started the PFAs, and like in the Navy at least. It would have been in the 70s, because now
and I completely get guys
flower.
And I completely get guys maybe that are in, and I feel like, the battlefield with the last couple of wars has become so fluid. What is combat arms, right? But I can see the argument for people there about wanting to maintain the standard. And if that's being done, and like Josh said, there's females out there that are getting it, that's great. But, don't be one of those dudes that's criticizing transgender females or whatever the case may be, and you can't make the female standards for PT. I don't know. Like, I don't know how the Navy. I don't remember how the Navy scores it, but like in the Army, you go up to 300 or whatever. Like, if you're not in the mid to high 2s, I don't know if you should be criticizing what this chick is doing.
100%. That's completely the case. And there are fucking females out there that crush it on the male scale, and definitely put in the time, and they could carry that weight. But yeah, it should all be fair. And I don't think as of right now it is. But hopefully they'll get that shit figured out, and we can make it so it's fucking equal across the board. And I'm not saying equal as far as like, hey, this is a very low standard, and say that that's equal, because you have to have a I guess a high standard for fitness, to be here, not just bare bones, and I think that's
why do you keep looking at me when you're saying that?
I don't know.
I don't even.
Hey, man.
Unless you're a SEAL or EOD or maybe a firefighter in the Navy, a DC man or something in the Navy, everybody else you just have to like float. If you can like float for like 10 minutes, you're good and like get out of the pool.
Right?
Yep.
Like, dude, I'm an equipment. Like nothing's gonna hurt me. Like
I'm gonna hurt myself.
Yeah, right. If anything, I'm breaking an ankle jumping out of this motherfucker than I am
you guys bring up a good point. I feel like the military and again, maybe it's just my experience because my longer service was in the Army, but like in my experience, the Army will spend millions and millions of dollars, and I guess it's in the budget anyway, and they're not going to give it to me as a bonus, but the Army will spend millions of dollars retooling the PT standards, but like you still can't get a fucking tire for your Humvee or something. Like it's crazy.
Beer.
100%. Yeah.
That's bullshit.
That's
also, I'm pretty sure that after out processing, from a few different duty stations, that the way they get that money for like the new uniforms and the PT stuff is through CIF. Like not being able to clear that thing without a fine. Like that's where that money's going.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. CIF is literally
when you get a bunch of fucking veterans together. Is no matter what you're talking about initially, it could have been astrophysics. We always come back to the military.
And like I said, I think
people are going to know other dudes are in the military because this is always going to get brought up.
And I feel like it's just like we said, it's hard because you want to be that good vet and you want to hang out with other vets like you guys and stuff like that. But what's the line between like enjoying an occasional Toby Keith song and being Toby Keith? Like where's that?
I don't think anyone enjoys Toby Keith. I sure as fuck don't.
There's low key some dudes right now that's got the iTunes are like, fuck man, I mean that song's alright.
And like for us, man,
shut the show off.
The crew isn't just built around Army dudes. Like there's plenty, or military people. We have many of like dudes that I guess you could say are civilians that like fucking hang out with us, and they like to get it in just like we do. And a lot of those guys are fucking blue collar workers that have had to fucking get shit on in their fucking careers to make it to where they're at to be somewhat successful. And so they understand what it's like, to have those hardships and stuff like that, because being a fucking oil guy like that's not a fucking easy job. You still got to be a fucking, I guess you would say, a greenhorn or whatever the case may be, and show your shit and make sure that you can cut it out on that crew, and that's hard itself. I mean, shit, I don't want to fucking go be a oil field worker. I don't want to go be a steel worker. Like that shit's fucking hard, man. And to cut it in that community, you got to be good at your fucking job and be a hard individual as well.
So when is the next? I guess we've been talking for a while here, so we'll get to wrapping it up. But when is the next Mercenary Bike Night?
We have one coming up actually this Friday at 6 p.m. at fucking Banks Food Hall, and we'll just hit it up there. We kind of make it a point not to confuse bike night with riding around or going on a long ride after you've been fucking drinking for like a few hours, because that's fucking dangerous as fuck. Whether or not some dudes do it or not, that's on them, and that's something definitely. I'd feel terrible if a dude came out to drink with us and fucking laid his shit down because he was too shit faced, to make it home, Yeah, but we definitely try and stay away from just going to the bars and like that's our rip around town. We want to definitely get out there and go ride a few hours, maybe put in a few hundred here and there where we can, time given and stuff like that,
And then come back to outskirts.
And then come back to outskirts for sure.
Yeah. So this Friday, Banks Food Hall, and like I said, it's kind of more of like a communal get together, bullshit with your friends type thing than it is a rip around thing. If guys want to, if they're out in Fort Benning, if they're out in the Columbus area, they want to rip around with you guys, can they just hit up the Instagram page, Mercenary Motorcycles, and Brown?
Man. Anyone can fucking come and bring what they got and fucking come hang out. And I mean, we don't care if you get a fucking sport bike and shit like that. Obviously, we can't keep up with those, but
so they wait. So they don't need a scroll to roll?
I guess not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would love to come, dude, but I mean, you were talking shit about California burritos, so like, you did me.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we got all our own opinions on what's what, and fucking California burritos. I'm sure they're as good as they may be. In my opinion, they're not. And I'm sure I'm going to catch so much shit. And there goes half my California fucking followers right there. You know,
They're all ready to square up and shit.
Yeah, they're ready to square up, throwing burritos at me and shit, and the crew. But no.
So Ken is like our tech guru too. So he'll put like all the links to the Instagrams and stuff like that. He'll put all the stuff out there. Link the website, and whatnot. Link the Instagram.
Yeah, we got more shit coming out. Something that I do like to say is that like so we produce a small quantity of generally everything. Not small enough where like, hey, only one, a few shirts here and that's it. But we try and make it, limited quantity. That way we can turn around more ideas and more products and, keep it fresh and stuff like that. Because, having the same company just advertising and coming out with the same shit kind of gets boring, So we try and keep it fresh, at least keep it, every 6 months we'll come out with something new. And, that way dudes have something new to wear and stuff, and we'll be having more stuff, coming out soon. So look forward to that.
And so, so you said, any idea when the summer stuff will come out?
Sometime in probably around May-ish, late May. We're trying to get everything together. It's just, trying to get all the art done and everything like that, resourcing and stuff. And we try and get everything done stateside as much as we can. Obviously, there's some things that that we can't, like, I'd love to buy a t-shirt for the United States, but that's, if I want to buy a all 100% USA made shirt, sometimes it's very expensive. And that means that my cost to my customer is going to be really high. But the screen printing and the tags and all that stuff and the shipping is all done by me. And it's all done here locally, here in Columbus, Georgia. And we try and support that local business. We try not to outsource much of anything, and we try and take care of everything in house. I have an office set up here-ish in my one of my rooms in my house, and everything's done up. And I mean, Dave's seen it. It ain't much, but it's fucking honest work,
Any plans to expand some of the photography gigs you got going on? Photography, bike stuff? I mean, you got some serious talent being able to rip and photograph at the same time.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm on that level yet, man. I like to think that I do all right stuff, and maybe that's just me being nervous about trying to put myself out there and, charge people for stuff. So I always just try and take pictures of dudes' bikes and get that back to them, because obviously it helps, funnel the page and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's always important to me, to try and give back to the guys that come out. And who doesn't want a picture that's been done up well by somebody? Like, to me, I'd be like, hey, that's fucking dope as shit, man. Fucking thanks for the fucking picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I guess I don't know if I'm on that level yet.
Yeah, so absolutely. I just want to thank you for coming on, talking to us. Obviously, had fucking a blast ripping around with you. Can't wait to do it again. We're gonna get Ken up there, maybe Daytona or something like that too. Because I think it's only 200 miles. You know what? You guys go visit Ken. It'll be easier for him.
We'll just show up at your house. Dave will give me your address, and before you know it,
he's gonna give you my address, bro. I don't give no fucks, bro.
He's gonna take you to Choppers.
Yeah, I'll take you to Choppers. Take him through the netting.
Josh might be a little dark for Choppers.
Yeah,
and I mean that with all respect to Josh and Choppers. He just might be a little dark for Choppers.
No, we'll just tell him the truth. Hey, man, he'd been riding all 3 weeks.
The people that listen to this podcast.
That's a tan line right here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but riding around with Dave, I got a pretty dope ass fucking tan line. I'm like, what the fuck? It's just
all the tattoos make him look dark. He's actually fluorescent white.
Sometimes people look at me funny like that, man. They're like, yo, are you really like, what are you, bro? Because I don't think I have, like that essay, sound is, because I'm 100% Mexican. I speak fucking fluent Spanish and shit, but most people are like, what are you, bro? I mean, I don't know, kind of confused. You a mutt?
Yeah, well, the folks at Choppers would be confused as well. And you know what? If you ever get a chance, for the few people that listen to this show, they're probably all going to go to his Instagram now to see what he looks like. But if you do listen to this show and you get a chance to talk to Josh, ask him about his time doing in Dahlonega, Georgia. He's got some great stories from up in the we'll call that the Deep South. From up there in what is that, mountain country or whatever. There's some pretty good stories out of there. So if you get a chance, go get a beer with Josh. Ask him about that. Like